Hello, good morning, friends, and happy to welcome you all into this class. And we will continue with the civics as we have seen in our written here. We study the fourth lesson, understanding laws. So, in the last lesson, that is lesson number 3, we are talking about parliament, how the parliament is formed, what are the functions of the parliament, how and what the MPs perform in the parliament and so on. And we said parliament has got 3 functions. And the third one we said was making laws. That was the third function of the parliament, making the laws. I hope you remember what are the other roles, other functions of the parliament. First one we said was to select the national government. Second function of the MPC is to control, guide and inform the government. And third one we are going to study today about the laws. What is the meaning of laws or how to understand the laws? The parliament will make the laws, but how are we going to understand that? That is what we are going to learn today. So we can, those who have got textbooks, we can open lesson number 4, understanding laws. So you may be familiar with some laws such as those that specify the age of marriage, the age at which a person can vote, and perhaps even the laws dealing with buying and selling of property. So in our country, we have so many laws in our country, and some of the laws are very common. We know, for example, the government has fixed the age for marriage. So the age for marriage for women is 18 and for boys it is 21. So that is, if anybody is getting married before that age, then it is a offense. They are breaking the law and they can be arrested and put in the jail and so on. The same way, the age at which one person can vote. For example, in our country, before it was 21 was the age for voting. Now government has changed it and brought the new law saying those who reach the age of 18, they can participate in the election. Then there is law for buying property, selling property and so on. Everywhere we cannot buy. For example, in the tribal land we cannot buy land and we cannot sell land to non-tribals. So that is a law made by the government. Then other places also there are rules and regulations are there. How we can buy the land, how we can sell the land and so on. So we shall study in detail about some of the laws, how to understand the law that is made by the government, what are the specifications or what are the implications that are there in the law that are made by the parliament of our country. Then we know that the parliament is in charge of making laws. Do these laws apply to everyone? Could there be laws that are unpopular or controversial? What should we as citizens do under such circumstances? So all the laws that are made in the parliament, we know only parliament can make the law for the whole country. The state assembly can make law for the state. So the laws that are made in the parliament, that is meant for all the countries. So all the laws that are made may not be useful for the people. It may be useful for some people, but not for all the people. Or some may be to make them subjects of others, or make the difference between, it is going to create difference between the people and so on. So some laws can be really discriminating. It may not be applying everyone equally. So when such kind of laws are passed in the parliament, as a responsible citizen, what are we expected to do? What are the things that is expected of us? What can we do in order to protect the rights of everyone and so that no one will be discriminated? So let us see in this lesson, if some kind of controversial laws or bad laws are created in the parliament, then what shall we do? How shall we go about and so on? So that is the first rule. Do laws apply to all? So the laws are made in the parliament, and does it apply to all? That's what we shall see. For example, there is a example is given there. Let us read that example. A government official helps his son to go into hiding because his son has been given a 10-year jail sentence by a district court for a crime that he has committed. So, one government officer's son committed a crime and he was given punishment by the court. 10 years of jail sentence, imprisonment was given. So his father was a government officer, so therefore he has got some power, and so he told his son, you go and hide somewhere. So try to escape. Don't allow them to catch. Don't be caught. So his father is allowing his son to escape from the law, from obeying the law or accepting the punishment, because he is a powerful man. So what do you think about it? So do you think that the government official's actions were right? Should his son be exempt from the law just because his father is economically and politically powerful? So what is your opinion? If one person does a mistake, whether he belongs to a poor family or he belongs to a rich family, should they get punished? So law in our country says all are equal before the law. If anyone who does a crime, whether he belongs to the rich family or he belongs to a minister's family or he belongs to a farmer's family, they all should have equal rights and they should be punished with the equal punishment, no showing partiality. When a rich man does a mistake, he is given very little punishment, and when a poor man does the same mistake, he is given a greater punishment. So that is not allowed, that is injustice. So that should not be done in our country. Everyone is equal before the law. Even if it is a president of India, if he does the mistake, then he is liable to be punished. If that same mistake is done by a small fellow or farmer, a poor person in our country, he also will be given the same punishment. There is no difference between rich and poor, powerful or official or non-official. There is no difference. Everyone is equal before the law. That is a law in our country. Let us see whether it is practiced in our country or not. So the above is a clear case of violation of the law. So if somebody is trying to protect their son or their relative or somebody from being punished for making a crime, then they are also violating the law. Anybody who is trying to protect a person, a criminal, then that person also is doing mistake. He is also violating the law and he also can be punished. And as you read in Unit 1, members of the Constituent Assembly were agreed there should be no arbitrary exercise of power in independent India. So when Dr. Ambedkar and his team made the Constitution of India, they made in their mind that in the independent India, when India gets independence, there should be no arbitrary. Arbitrary means showing one's power, authority and so on. So in following the law, there should be no difference. Everyone should be equal before the law. Nobody should follow their own thinking, nobody should follow their own power and so on. Everybody should be equal before the law. Then they therefore instituted several provisions in the Constitution that would establish the rule of the law. So in the Constitution they have mentioned everything nicely, cleared everything, that how the punishment should be given for those who break the law and so on. Everything is mentioned and everything is given very clearly. And the most important of these was that all persons independent India are equal before the law. We can underline the last sentence of the paragraph. All persons in independent India are equal before the law. Whether they belong to prime minister or president or minister or MP or MLA, they are all equal before the law. All should have equal punishment for doing the same mistake, same crime. That is the policy to be followed in our country. And the law cannot discriminate between persons on the basis of their religion, caste or gender. So, law cannot discriminate. Discriminate means showing difference. Cannot show difference because this person belongs to higher caste and this person belongs to lower caste, so will give different punishment. Higher caste person getting small punishment and low caste person getting high punishment. That is not enough. Whether they belong to different religion. So this religion, this fellow is my enemy, so I will give them maximum punishment. And this fellow belonging to my religion, so I will give small punishment. That is not allowed. Or based on the gender, this person is male, so we will give more punishment. Or this is female, so we will give more punishment. No, not such. Everyone is equal before the law. Whether they belong to high caste or low caste, they belong to male or female, they belong to one religion or another religion, they all should be equal before the law. That is the situation in our country. So the law supports everyone to be equal and supports everyone to be equal before the law. And neither a government official nor a wealthy person nor even the president of country is above the law. So nobody is above the law. Law is the highest in our country, and the law will decide whether this person has done mistake or not, whether this person has to receive punishment or not. Whatever may be the position of the person, doesn't matter. Before the law, everyone is equal. And any crime or violation of law has a specific punishment as well as a process through which the guilt of the person has to be established. But was it always like this? So, when anybody has done some crime or when anybody has violated some law, there should be a process through which the guilt of the person has to be proved. Simply saying is not enough, that person has done that mistake. There should be some way to prove that. Then only we can think about punishment. Just because I think that person has done that mistake, therefore he should be punished. That is not the way. So we have to prove that this person is guilty, that this person has done the mistake. Only then we can really proceed to give punishment. So that's why there are courts in our country. They will decide whether there is enough evidence to prove that this person has done this mistake or not. And in ancient India, there were innumerable and often overlapping local laws. Different communities enjoy different degrees of autonomy in administering these laws among their own. So in olden India or ancient India, before India got independence and so on, there were innumerable laws were there. So many number of laws were there, and they were overlapping. Overlapping means one going to the other. One law will say one thing, another law will say another thing. One may be overtaking another. So there was a lot of confusion and so on. And there was a lot of autonomy. Independence was there. So some community which is more powerful, they will have more independence. They will have more rights. And poor communities or low class communities, they will have less power, less autonomy and so on. So there was no equality in the ancient India. Different communities, they made their own rules, they made their own laws, and one law was overlapping other law and so on. So there was a lot of confusion and there was a lot of inequality also was there. So that equality was really missing in our ancient country. Then in some cases, the punishment that two persons receive for the same crime varied depending on their caste backgrounds, with the lower caste being more harshly punished. This slowly began to change as the system of law began to further evolve during the colonial period. So, in ancient India, the caste system was very strong. The higher caste had a lot of power, and the low caste they had no power at all. They were like slaves. So if the same mistake was done by a high caste person and also a low caste person, the punishments were not given equally. The high caste person very often excused or given a very small punishment, but the low caste person he was beaten severely and given very harsh punishment and so on. So that was a system that was followed in India. But when British came and colonized India, this system began to change a little bit, because British made the law and they were planning to implement it. So the local laws and the rules were slowly abolished, but still it was there for a long time. And it is often believed that it was the British colonialists who introduced the rule of law in India. So we can underline that. Who introduced the rule of law in India? It was the British colonialists who came to colonize India. Historians have disputed this claim on several grounds, two of which include: first, that colonial law was arbitrary, and second, that the Indian nationalists played a prominent role in the development of the legal sphere in British India. So, though people believe that it is the British who introduced the rule of law in our country, but the historians are very often disagreeing with that. They say the law that British brought was arbitrary. We said before, what is arbitrary? Arbitrary means they are doing according to their thinking. It was only for benefiting them, not meant for benefiting the common people. So they introduced a law that was helpful for them. So it was not a proper rule of law. Then again, another reason they say is the Indian nationalists played a prominent role in the development of the legal sphere in British India. So when British came to India to introduce that rule of law in India, the Indian nationalists, that means the Indian national leaders, they played a very prominent role. They put pressure on the British government to introduce rule of law, to introduce certain practices, laws, punishments, all that. So it was the initiative taken by the Indian leaders that made or that forced the British leaders to introduce this. Then, one example of the arbitrariness that continued to exist as part of British law is Sedition Act of 1870. So we say, the historians say that the British law was arbitrary. So in order to show an example that British law was an arbitrary one, we can say the law was made in 1870. It is called Law of Sedition or Sedition Act. So you can see the meaning given below, sedition. At the end of the lesson, it is given what is the meaning of sedition. So sedition means this applies to anything that the government might consider as stirring up resistance or rebellion against it. So anyone who is making the people to fight against the government, that is called sedition. So British made it a law that anyone is trying to fight against the government or work against the government, then they will be arrested and put in jail. So that was a Sedition Act. So this act was passed in 1870, and the idea of sedition was very broadly understood within this act. And any person protesting or criticizing the British government could be arrested without due trial. So according to this law, any person who is trying to criticize the British government or trying to protest against the British government, they will be arrested and put in the jail. There will be no trial. They will not be sent to the court to find out whether this person is guilty or not. No, going to the court. Straight away arrest and put in the jail. That was a rule that British government made in 1870 called Sedition Act. So that is a clear sign that there was no proper law. It was only meant for supporting them, to punish those who are opposing them and so on. Otherwise they could have been taken to the court and the judge can examine them and find out whether they are really done against the government or not, whether they have really broken the law or not. So nothing was there. So in order to just suppress the people, they introduced this law. And we have an example given there in the left side of your page, an example called Jallianwala Bagh Massacre. You must have studied in history as well, that the place called Jallianwala Bagh, people were massacred by the British officers. They were shot dead, and thousands of them were shot dead. You can just read through that and find out how it happened. So another example of British arbitrariness was the Rollout Act, which allowed the British government to imprison people without due trial. So just like the Sedition Act, the British government made another law called Rollout Act. So according to this Rollout Act, the people can be simply arrested and put in jail. There will be no trial, there will be no going to the court, but straight away they will be arrested and put in jail. Then Indian nationalists, including Mahatma Gandhi, were vehement in their opposition to rollout bills. So when government passed this law, passed this bill, Indian leaders like Mahatma Gandhi and other important leaders, they were very much against this bill. It will stop the freedom of the people. It will block the freedom of the people. Therefore, they were against and they criticized the government. And despite the large number of protests, the Rollout Act came into the effect on 10 March 1919. So though the Indian leaders were protesting, the government did not bother. They continued processing and they made this one as a new law for the country to follow in 1919. Then in Punjab, protests against this act continued quite actively, and on April 10, two leaders of the movement, Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Saifuddin Kichalu, were arrested. So, two leaders, that is one is Dr. Satyapal, another one is Dr. Saifuddin. They were protesting, they were criticizing against this new law of the government. And General Dyer entered the park with his troops. They closed the only exit and without giving any warning, General Dyer ordered the troops to fire. So when these two leaders were protesting, they were giving speech in a place called Jallianwala Bagh, and it was a special ground, a stadium. It had only one entry door and one exit. So as they were giving the speeches against this government, British government, criticizing the British government, and a lot of people had come there to listen to them and to join their protest against the British government. And then the police officer, the British police officer called General Dyer, he came there with his troop of policemen, and they entered inside and closed the door so that nobody will go out. And it all start firing the people, and therefore they killed so many people on that day. And several hundreds of people died in this gunfire, and many more were wounded, including women and children. So, because of that cruel act of shooting down the people mercilessly, several hundreds of people died, and several women and children, they were wounded and they were maimed, they were handicapped. All this happened because British had made that law, and that law had given them power to do anything. There will be no more trial and so on. So Indians were the casualties of this law. British always made the law that will suit them, that will support them and so on, and the Indians had to suffer. You can see in your picture that army is here with their guns, and the people here are dead and on the ground. So it is a painting by an Indian in order to show how the people were affected, how the British killed the people, which is called Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Mercilessly they killed the people. And so we say, though the British, some people say the British introduced the rule of law, but it was not proper law. It was not meant for the people, but it was meant for only to support the British people. Therefore, the claim that British introduced the law in our country, that is not agreed by all the Indian leaders. Then the Indian nationalists began protesting and criticizing this arbitrary use of authority by the British. They also began fighting for greater equality and wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that they were forced to obey to law as including ideas of justice. So the Indian leaders, they began to speak openly, they began to criticize, saying it is not just arbitrary law, it is not the law alone that is to be followed. There should be an idea of justice. So we cannot simply arrest anyone and go and put in the jail. There should be a justice should be there. People should be examined to see whether they have really done mistake or not. Only then we can really claim that the justice, the idea of justice is there. Otherwise, the law becomes very arbitrary. So Indian leaders were against that arbitrary law made by the British. We have to make new laws with which has got an idea of justice, sense of justice, that all are equally treated. And by the end of the 13th century, the 19th century, the Indian legal profession also began emerging the demanded respect in colonial courts. So, by the end of 19th century, the Indian leaders began to demand that there should be respect given to the colonial courts. So the court was made by the British people, the judges are also British, and so they said those Indians who are coming to the court, they should get respect. They should not be treated like locals, they should not be treated like slaves, but there should be equality should be there, respect should be there in the court. And Indian judges also began to play a greater role in making decisions. So slowly, Indians were also appointed as judges, and they also began to play a very important role in making decisions in the court, whether this person is guilty or not. Therefore, there were several ways in which Indians played a major role in the evolution of the rule of law during the colonial period. So, what some people say that it was the British who brought the rule of law, we are refuting that in order to say that more than the colonial leaders, more than the British people, it was the Indian leaders who played an important role in bringing the rule of law to the colonial India, the British India. So the Indian leaders, they criticized them, and the Indian judges who were appointed, they also played a very important role in making good decisions, and so slowly the rule of law prevailed in our country. Then, with the adoption of the constitution, this document served as the foundation on which our representatives began making laws for the country. So, slowly, India received freedom and the constitution was formed, and afterwards, constitution became the foundation, it became the foundation stone on which the laws were made. So, whatever law we make in the parliament, it should not go against the constitution, it should be within the constitution. That was the rule basis for everything. And every year our representatives pass several new laws as well as revise existing laws. And in your class 6 book, you read about the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. So, our parliament, one of the duties of the parliament, MPs in the parliament, is to make law. So every year they make new laws after discussion in the parliament. For some of the rules they feel it is no more applicable now, so they amend it or change it, make it better. So one of such act was in 2005 called Hindu Succession Amendment Act. So according to this law, what is the advantage? According to this new law, sons, daughters and their mothers can get an equal share of family property. So before this law was made, the property belonged only to the male members of the family. Hindu succession means the property of the father will go to the son. The mother or the daughters, they will get nothing. So it will go only to the sons. So after changing this law, the property of the family or the property of the father should be equally divided for sons, daughters and is wide. Everybody should be given equal share. That is the Hindu Succession Act. And similarly, the new laws have been enacted to control pollution and provide employment. So, new law is made in order to control the pollution of the environment and also to provide employment to the people of the country. So, the parliament make different laws how to control the pollution. Maybe the old vehicles should not be allowed to run in the road. That is one way we can make a rule. Or to provide employment. So government makes a law that all those who are educated, all those who are qualified with the education, they should be provided employment. That is a duty or responsibility of the government. So the government makes the law so that the citizens of the country will benefit from that. They will be able to experience, or they will be able to receive equality before the law and the benefits of the law. So how do people come to think and propose that a new law is necessary? We will read more about this in the next section. So how do we know that we need a new law? How do we know that this existing law is not good? We have to improve this law. We have to change this law. How do we know? So we shall study that one in the next class. So for today we shall wind it up. In the next class we will continue explain how the laws are changed, or how the people realize and recognize the need for a new law or for the amendment of an existing law and so on. So till we meet then, bye.